Yo, what it is? Thanks for clicking on the video. My name's Adam. We're talking about the Miami Heat. I have them as the third seed in the Eastern Conference this year. We're doing a little about 10-minute preview for their season. We are like, what, a week away? Tomorrow, I think, is a week away from the NBA season. We're pumped. We're excited. And we're talking a lot of NBA stuff, a lot of sports stuff over here. Probably going to throw out some more college football, college basketball, and then NFL stuff here on the channel. So if you're interested in that, subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment on what you would like to see as far as different things that we're going to be doing here. And let's just jump into the Heat here. Let's just jump right in. So in order to talk about what the Heat have done in the, to kind of go before we go into their season, let's talk about what they did in the offseason. What did they not do in the offseason? I mean, they made the two big moves. Obviously, the biggest move was bringing in Kyle Lowry. While I'm not crazy about how that ages, like literally, I just don't. I think it's good enough for them to be able to get a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. I think again have him here at 3 right now. I think Lowry adds leadership. He's been to the finals. He's won a championship. It was kind of the heart and soul of that Raptors team that won it all, and has epitomized really what the Raptors had accomplished these last few years. So to bring in a guy with that leadership, intangibles, pretty good for the Heat. I think I think Jimmy Butler and Lowry together can really build like a really hard work mindset to this team that is very, very built. That's very much built to make these two main dogs in the East sweat a little bit. So I like the build for sure for the Heat. All right, so Caleb Martin, Markieff Morris. Mark Morris was with the Lakers last year. Didn't really get to play. I don't know how many minutes he'll get with the Heat this year. And then PJ Tucker, another leader, another dude who's been in big moments, coming off of his championship with the Bucks and being a little key piece for them. So that again adds more to this championship culture that the Heat want to build. And pretty good stuff from there. So in adding those players and bringing in Lowry, they obviously had to bring out and have players leave the team. So there was the casualties of Precious Achiuwa, who was traded to the Raptors, and Goran Dragic, who was traded to the Raptors. So those two players, it stinks a little bit. I mean, I think Dragic you knew last year when they signed him on that deal that was like a 2-year deal with the second year, had a team option. Like you kind of figured that they were going to try to get him out or trade him or not guarantee his contract. Now this was, I think, the Heat's mindset initially was to go after Giannis. He signs the max deal before last season and wins the championship. Also, the rest is history, right? So then they pivot to this Lowry transaction. They get him, but they do have to give up some of these young pieces, or one young piece for Lowry in Precious Achiuwa, who I think will probably have a breakout year in Toronto, depending on how many minutes he gets up there. Also, Iguodala, older, a little bit washed. I don't like using washed, but yeah, he is a little bit older, and kind of wanted to go back to Golden State. I think if he really wanted to be back in Miami, I think he'd go back to Miami. But he really is attached to the Warriors, so that makes sense. Nunn was another casualty. They couldn't keep Nunn while also bringing in heavy money with Lowry. Nunn then goes to the Lakers. Trevor Ariza follows him there and goes to LA, and then Nemanja Bjelica goes to Golden State. So some good stuff. Again, nothing huge that they lost. Obviously, their most impactful player was Dragic. Their most future piece was Achiuwa, and then Nunn was also I don't know how Heat fans feel about that, but I think they'll be happy because there'll be a higher seed going into this season, or coming out of this season, than last year. Let's transition over to their salary cap here real quick. I'm going to try to make this video pretty quick. Looks like we're doing good. So let's talk about kind of where they stand cap-wise. Now, this is a really interesting situation with the Heat. They are, they have a lot of money going to these guys who are really old, right? So Lowry, 26, 28, 29 million over these next 3 years. Jimmy Butler, 36, 37, 45, 48, and has a player option of 52 million, which is wild. In about 5 years, we're going to see players get into the 50s pretty regularly. So that will be wild to see, and we're going to see it here in the next few years with Butler. They got Bam signed for his long-term deal. He's 5 years now with the team. Obviously, that's a given. He's a great young center in the league. I do again worry a little bit about like they're chasing a championship like within the next couple seasons. I am a little hesitant to say like the Jimmy Butler contract is good because you're paying him a lot. Now, obviously, like the inflation of the salary cap does kind of is a factor for sure. So maybe 36 and 45 million in a couple of years don't look as consequential as it does now, but it is still a lot of money for sure. And you hope that Jimmy just stays in peak shape and peak condition and still is a really good player by the end of his contract. Duncan Robinson, he was paid a lot of money. Look, you got to pay to keep your own players and you got to pay to have shooting. I do think it's a little bit of an overpay, but it's nothing to the point. I mean, the last few years when he's getting paid like 18, 19 million, that's a little concerning, but they do like Duncan Robinson. He's just plays really well off the ball and doesn't need to take a high volume of shots. So I think he fits in, and he's an elite shooter. So it's like he doesn't demand the ball, but when he does get the ball, you know that he's going to be able to score, especially if he's left open if people are focusing their attention to Jimmy Butler, Bam, or Kyle Lowry. PJ Tucker, again, solid contract. Tyler Hero, a little bit interesting here. They will have to kind of make a decision with Hero here soon. He is kind of their only trade piece. Not piece, but trade player. Their player. This is an interesting situation. So again, do they bring him back? Like, are they going to start bringing him a little bit more into trade discussions? We'll just see. That will be really interesting to see what happens with Tyler Hero. I know they like KZ Okpala. UD has always been there, and is a mainstay there in Miami. Strus, Gabe Vincent, Omar Yurtseven. These are dudes that really did pretty solid in the summer league. Strus and Yurtseven especially. These are two dudes that I think will break rotation here, and we'll get into that in a moment. But solid stuff there for their bench. Let's now actually talk about their situation when it comes to their bench. So Hoops Hype has here the starting five. The starting five is Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, PJ Tucker, Bam Adebayo. I love their starting five. Their starting five is really good. Defense, you have some shooting. I know Jimmy Butler's not the greatest shooter, but you have Tucker and Robinson, two snipers, right? You have a defensive presence with Bam Adebayo, who can also facilitate and is just extremely versatile. And Lowry brings leadership, and Butler brings leadership. So there's a lot of good things here with the starting lineup. Here's the issue. I do worry about their bench. Can Tyler Hero make that next step? And even if he does, like, is he that much more helpful to the bench unit? I think it's just kind of TBD at the moment. Gabe Vincent, Akpala, Markieff Morris, Dwayne Dedmon. So these are not the greatest players coming off the bench. You hope that they strike gold with Akpala and he takes a jump, that Yurtseven takes a jump, that Strus and Vincent, they all take a jump, and Hero. So, with that being said, I will say there is maybe a possibility that two of those players do make a solid jump, but is it a jump that makes it to where it's like, okay, these dudes are elite bench performers? I don't know. So I do worry a little bit there. There is also the wild card of Victor Oladipo. He was traded to Miami from Houston after the whole, James Harden deal happened with Houston, and then they got Oladipo, but then they traded him to Miami here, and he re-signed for a veteran minimum with the Heat. So does he provide anything? I don't know if it's really safe to say, like, yeah, he does. Like, he's certainly gonna, like, the fans that want to think that, like, he's gonna go back to, like, being the 25-5 kind of performer for the team. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think they're gonna limit him. I think he's been through a lot of injuries here recently, so rest him and hope that he kind of notches it up for the playoffs and becomes an impactful player there. So a little bit of their bench depth hinges on Oladipo and how he performs. Ultimately, though, I love their starting five. It's just their reserves that make me a little questionable, just because I haven't seen it yet. It wouldn't surprise me if Strus or Hero or Yurtseven just jump out of the gym and they really grow into good players. So we'll see kind of on that. Let's end on their over-under. 49 wins. I will smash the over on this. I think there's a real strong possibility that they're like really pushing for 55. I'm going to say 52, 53, but they're for sure going to beat the 49. I think maybe one thing Vegas has on this is that they're not confident maybe that Lowry or Jimmy like can stay healthy, or at least like avoid having to sit back-to-backs. So that will be interesting to see what happens there. But ultimately, that's my opinion on the Heat. I think it's a really interesting team. I think this team led by Eric Spoelstra can upset like the Bucks if it comes down to them playing each other. Again, 2-3 seed maybe. I'm just going to spoil it right now and say that the Bucks are not my number 2 seed. But if they do play each other in the playoffs, I think it's a really, really tight series, and it'll be fun to see what happens. So yeah, tell me what your thoughts are. Comment section is just down below here. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, and we'll come out with you with another video at some point today, but we'll see. Have a good one.